All right. So, for those of you who were absent yesterday, I'm going to try to recap the awesome story I taught about the Trojan War. A long time ago, it's about 1000 BC to 900 BC. Okay, so you remember those dates? Homer tells this epic story around the year 800 BC. Homer is telling the story. Homer is the poet who is most famous for documenting this story down, and he writes about it in his book called the Iliad. The Iliad is this 10-year historical tale of the Trojan War. Now, there are some truths about the Trojan War. Troy, the city-state of Troy, was really inhabited by Greek peoples during this BC era, and Troy was a heavily fortified city. It had large walls that a lot of people couldn't get through, okay? They were famous for their large stone, thick fortress walls, okay? In the Trojan War, it all begins when in mainland Greece, I tried to draw that again. In mainland Greece, a party is being thrown, essentially, by King Agamemnon of Sparta. And Sparta's not that high, it's down here. King Agamemnon is the Spartan king, and he is quite happy that he has married this hot 20-year-old chick, okay? He is a 60-year-old fart, and he is married to this good-looking, smoking hot chick named Helen, okay? Helen is known throughout all the lands as being one of the most beautiful, okay? Aphrodite is said to have blessed her looks, and Aphrodite is the goddess of love.
And marriage.
So, King Agamemnon's like, hey, everybody who's a Greek person, you guys should come to my party. Come check out my beautiful and hot wife. And we're just going to have a great old time, okay? You guys can get wasted. And I said yesterday, chocolate wasted, right, kids? Okay, you get chocolate wasted and check out my beautiful bride. He is inviting people who are Greek-speaking everywhere, as far as Turkey, okay? Turkey's about this distance and maybe a certain scale. But over here is Troy. Troy is a kingdom with King Priam being the king of Troy. King Priam has two sons. He has Hector, who's the oldest and who's the best, okay, out of his two sons. His second son is this worthless sack of crap named Paris. And Paris is very feminine, okay? He's very, very feminine, to the point where I often like to joke around that he's kind of gay, okay? Even though he goes after Helen. Spoiler alert. So everybody's in Sparta. Everybody's having a banging good time, okay? They're all listening to the music. They're getting chocolate wasted. And they are checking out this bride, okay? They're pretty much, they got their drink in hand. They're like, yep, she's pretty, all right. And then they walk away and they start partying some more. When the Troy boys show up, King Priam, Hector, and Paris, they show up at the party, and Paris is like, that is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my entire life. Okay? So, Helen finds herself alone in the party at some point, and Paris wants to make his move, okay? So he's getting closer to her as she's alone, getting closer, you know, being that kind of creep who likes to hit on people by scooting over real slow and nice, trying to make it look casual and normal. Hey, you're pretty, okay? That's basically what he says to Helen, and Helen's like, well, you're not so bad yourself, okay? And then, even though she's married, all right, and they start to flirt, and then Paris is essentially like, hey, you want to get out of here? And Helen's like, you know I'm married, right? Okay. And so they end up sailing back to Troy. However, King Priam and Hector, in some accounts, don't know about this. Paris has essentially smuggled a human being on board this ship. And Paris, Ty, you're supposed to be paying attention because you need to write this assignment. Who's being a sack of crap now? Anyway, yeah, that's going on YouTube. Anyway. All right, well, anyway, so Paris ends up smuggling Helen on board the ship, and she's below deck, so they don't even know about it.
Well, Paris and Helen, they end up, flirting below deck, and then he ends up bringing Helen up above deck and is holding hands with Helen. And King Priam's like, it's finally nice to arrive back into Troy. Isn't that right, Hector? And Hector's like, yep. Paris, isn't it great to be home, son? And Paris is like, yep. And then he's like, Helen, isn't it great to be home? Helen, oh my gosh. And then he's like, Paris, what have you done? Paris, you have stolen the king's wife? The king of Sparta. The Spartans have always been known to be these warrior race of people that can kick everybody's butt. What are you doing with Helen? And then Paris is like, well, I love her. And then King Priam's like, you're so gay. Okay? And then Paris is like, well, I really do. And Helen speaks up and she's like, yeah, even though I'm married to Agamemnon, I love Paris. He's obviously a man. And then King Priam's like, yeah, you're going to find out in the coming days how manly he is. He's going to hide behind a wall and all this other stuff. So, long story short, King Agamemnon's super furious after waking up the next morning because he was chocolate wasted. And he's like, where's my beautiful bride? Where is she? Where is she? And he finds out she is missing. He starts sending messengers to all the Greek lands that he invited to his party originally. Messengers go all over mainland Greece. Can't find Helen. The messengers are like, yes, have you seen the beautiful woman known as Helen? You know the beautiful one who's married to King Agamemnon. And everybody's like, nope. But the Greeks are starting to tell the messenger to tell Agamemnon, if there's anything you need, let us know, and we will come to aid you. And so the messengers are making their way down here. So King Priam and the Troy boys and Helen, they end up making it inside the city walls of Troy. And King Priam's like, oh my gosh, we are in such deep dog crap, okay? And Helen and Paris are just flirting it up, skipping gaily, holding hands. They're going on dates. They're doing the lady and tramp kiss with the spaghetti, okay? They are enjoying themselves, okay? And King Priam's like, you guys have brought disaster and a curse upon us. We're all going to die. I hope your happiness is worth it. And Paris is like, yeah, it's worth it. Okay. Well, the messengers make it to Troy, and they're like, hey, King Priam, how you doing? I'm pretty exhausted. We're looking for Helen. You remember Helen? She's hot and beautiful. Have you seen Helen? And King Priam is like, no, I haven't. Okay, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, that's really weird of you to respond that way. But, oh my gosh, Helen's right there. Okay, so the messengers, they all have renewed energy. They make it back to Sparta, whether by ship or by land. Most accounts it's by ship. It sails directly to Sparta. Tell King Agamemnon, and Agamemnon is furious. He's absolutely furious. And he ends up using those favors that the Greeks promised to assemble a massive army to invade Troy and to destroy it and take his wife back. So that's kind of where we are right now. Danielle,
when the messenger saw Helen, why wouldn't they just tell her to come back home?
That's a good point. And I think in some accounts they did, but she was really resistant because she's in love. She doesn't want to leave her lover's side. She is boyfriend and girlfriend with Paris, and she's never leaving him. Okay?
Did she give him her scrunchie?
She did. And Paris is like,
oh my gosh,
I'm going to hold on to this because I know this means a lot to you and the turtles, okay? That's what he said. Spencer.
She only joined Paris because he gave her a hydro flask.
She's like, you gave me a $40 water vessel? And it's not a water bottle, it's a water vessel.
Oh my god.
I am forever yours. Okay, Kirsten.
So, if she did give Paris her scrunchie, I'm sure he would just take it and just put it in his hair and just leave it there.
Probably. He's kind of feminine that way. He'd probably like it himself. Hank?
If King Agamemnon knew that she was with Paris, why wouldn't he just get a new one?
Get a new wife?
Yeah.
She was the most beautiful in all the land. He wanted her and nobody else. And it ends up that in some accounts he ends up killing her because she's too good. How does that make sense? We're going to fight a 10-year war, and at the end of it, you dead. Okay? Elena.
Was Paris an old fart, or was he the same age as her?
Paris, that's a good question. So Paris is the same age as Helen. They're both around 20 years old, is kind of what the tale is like. So they're youthful and they're lovers, which is some of the worst stuff that you could ever possibly experience or witness. Andrew.
Why didn't when King Priam saw that Paris took Helen, just take him back? So they wouldn't have to have a war.
Well, King Priam's so old. Travel spins a lot on his body.
Why
His
didn't he
body
get
takes a
off?
toll. I have no idea.
This is just how Homer tells the tale. Okay, it's Greek tragedy at its finest. You have a way to fix it, but you don't. Okay, I'll take other questions in just a second. So King Agamemnon masses this huge army outside Troy. They start storming the beaches of Troy, and they set up camp for essentially 10 years. Well, in one of the Greek peoples that he has assembled, he has the hero that's the leader of the Myrmidons or some mer people, I don't know, some fish people, but Achilles. Achilles is this killer dude. He is the best warrior of all time. He is himself a demigod, with his father being Zeus and his mother being a human. Okay, so by the way, the gods are starting to get involved. They're placing bets. Zeus says that the Greeks are going to win, and all these other Greek gods are like, no, they're not. And then they're still holding bets to the point where they want to influence the war. They directly get involved, okay? There are times where certain gods give courage and strength and stat boosts like in video games to certain Greek soldiers or to certain Trojan soldiers and stuff like that. But we have the Greeks showed up with Achilles. Achilles gets ticked off. He realizes he's been tricked by Agamemnon. He doesn't really want to fight this battle. He nestles up in his tent, and he doesn't want to fight. So he doesn't end up fighting for a majority of the war. Agamemnon's like, fine, forget him. We don't need him. We'll just fight this battle on ourselves. They end up fighting this battle for a long time. Patroclus is the nephew, in a lot of accounts, of Achilles. Patroclus keeps begging Achilles, please, uncle, please come out and fight. We need you. And Achilles is like, no. Achilles is a jerk and an old fart. I am not going to help him, okay? And Patroclus is like, all right, fine. Can I wear your armor? And Achilles says yes. Achilles lends his armor. Patroclus ends up putting it on. Hector, the head and lead and better son of King Priam, ends up killing Patroclus because he thinks it's Achilles. Okay? And then there's a big struggle over the body of Patroclus. And Achilles, from his tent, hears this commotion. He's like, what's going on? And the messenger comes in and is like, hey, Achilles, we thought you were dead. Who's wearing your armor then? And so he goes and he checks the armor, and Achilles comes with him, and reveal that it is Patroclus. And now it's all of a sudden, it's like that Led Zeppelin song. You guys ever seen Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah.
Achilles is out for blood, and Achilles is super ticked. Okay, so Achilles joins the war, but at that point, the next day, he is calling for Hector, because he finds out Hector killed Patroclus. He's calling for Hector to come out of the Trojan walls, and he wants to fight him one-on-one. Well, Hector is nestled up. He just had his newborn son with his wife, and he's really not wanting this fight to happen. He ends up petitioning and asking the gods and asking his own father and other people, can I win this fight? And they're like, no, you are going to die. And so Hector is like, this really sucks. I'm going to be leaving my wife and my son forever. But Achilles doesn't give a crap. Achilles is super ticked, and outside the Trojan walls, he is saying, Hector! 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 And he does it for like an hour, and Hector finally comes out. And then they have a one-on-one fight for about a bite. They took bites of each other. Okay? And they were playing around. But anyway, no, they end up having a fight, and it's like for an hour. And Achilles ends up killing Hector, and then hooks him up to his chariot and drags him around the city 3 times. And in some accounts, it's 3 times a day for days and stuff like that. And King Priam, so old and helpless, is like, my best son. Okay? And Paris is holding hands with Helen, and they're just looking down watching this happen. Paris could have gone out and fought Achilles, and should have. Paris should have gone out and fought Agamemnon, and he tried to at one point, truth be told. But then he gets swept away by Aphrodite, who takes him back to his lover's arms so he doesn't have to die, because she wants true love to win. Okay? Aphrodite, you... What up? I can't even... No. Anyway, then, pretty much in summary of the Trojan War, the Greeks feign or pretend that they are leaving. It's been a 10-year struggle. They are satisfied with killing Hector. Not really. And they want to just leave a parting gift to the Trojans. The Trojan symbol is the horse. So they construct a wooden horse that is gigantic to be pulled into the city walls of Troy. And at the bottom of this wooden horse, there is a latch that hides away some of the best heroes of the Greeks, including Odysseus. Odysseus actually came up with the idea. He is in the Trojan War Part 2, which is actually the Odyssey. Severed.
Was Achilles in the horse?
I don't know. I like to think so, that he was, for sure. Yesterday, when I was telling you guys this, yesterday I believe he was in the horse. I know he ends up getting inside of Troy. Hank.
Did Paris even care about his brother?
Paris cared more about flirting with Helen. Okay, he neglected his family and family responsibility. And responsibility altogether. This is what ends up happening. So when you guys get older, when you guys have your relationships, this is what I was saying yesterday, don't be one of those people who just up and leaves your family or doesn't do household stuff. Like, take care of your family and then go see whoever. Don't just be some jerk who ditches or deserts their family, because your family needs you.
My uncle.
Like your uncle? Like me, okay? I was that jerk. Okay, Mr. Scott grew up and I was always chasing the girls, unfortunately, and I was not always the best in my family. That's why I'm telling you this.
And you always.
Hannah.
So, since King Agamemnon was an old fart, was it an arranged marriage with Helen? Did Helen
God, I don't know.
They should have just
I don't
waited
know.
a little while.
He's a
because
king.
died
He can
soon.
kind of do whatever he wants, and Grant's saying that maybe they should have just waited and King Agamemnon would have and then fallen over, okay? Like in that classic old-fashioned way, old man way. Anyway, the Greeks end up storming Troy, take out Troy. Paris shoots Achilles in the Achilles tendon, and he did. That's pretty much the end.